Hello friends, welcome back, and if you are new to our channel, thank you for stopping by. Well, today I have a beautiful pattern to share with you, and for this pattern we need stitches in the multiple of 4 plus 2 to balance the pattern and plus 2 as the edge stitch. So I have taken 32 stitches, that is 7 into 4 28 plus 2 30 plus 2 32, and it is an 8 row pattern, and I have worked 2 rows of rib, that is 1 knit 1 purl. After that we are going to work a foundation row, and the foundation row will be of knit all along, and on the wrong side it's going to be a purl, and this foundation row is not to be repeated later in the pattern. And this pattern is an 8 row pattern. So starting off with the foundation row, which is very simple, we just have to knit all across. Now this pattern is going to look beautiful for sweaters, cardigans, girl sweater, ladies sweater, baby sweater. It's a beautiful pattern, beautiful. So here my foundation row comes to an end, the first row, and this is the second row of the foundation row. That is very simple. Again, we just need to purl all across. This is the foundation row, which is not to be repeated later on in the pattern. So here the second row of the foundation row, which was just a simple purl, comes to an end. So come on, let's start on with the first row of the pattern. Edge stitch is knitted but from the back side. After that we have to pull our work a little so that we can point, or we can pass our needle into the second hole and pull up a loop. From here starts the pattern. After that 2 number of knit. Now again we are going to pull our work a little. That's the first, that's the second hole through which our right needle passes, and then we pull up a loop. After that 2 number of knit. So this is the sequence. Now again 1 2, that's the second hole, we pull up a loop, then 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Now again number 1 number 2 hole, from there we pull up a loop. After that we work 2 number of knit. So this is the process that is to be followed for the first row of the pattern. So here I just pulled up a loop. After that I am working 2 number of knit. Now let's pull up a loop. That's the first hole, that's the second hole through which the needle passes, and then we pull up a loop. After that let us work 2 number of knit, and then again let us pull up a loop from the second hole. So this is the first row of the pattern. Not at all tough, it is simple enough for the beginners also to try this beautiful pattern. Again, that's the first, that's the second hole through which the needle passes, and then we pull up a loop. After that 2 number of knit. Again here we are pulling up a loop from the second hole. After that 2 number of knit. Now let's pull up a loop again and then work 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Again pulling up a loop and then working 2 number of knit, and let's pull up a loop again from the second hole, and then let's work 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Now carefully we are going to point our second hole or identify our second hole and then pull up our final loop for this particular row or the first row of the pattern. The edge stitch is going to be a knit. So the first row comes to an end. Moving on to the second row, the edge stitch is slipped off, or you can purl. After that 1 stitch is slipped into the needle, then we purl. Again we slip the stitch into the needle. Then again 2 number of purl, we slip the stitch without working into the right needle. Then again 2 number of pearl, we slip the stitch right into the right needle without working, then 2 number of pearl. Here I would like to point out one thing, that is the stitch that we are just slipping off into the right needle is actually the stitch which has been formed after pulling up a loop in the previous row. So that we are not going to purl, we are just going to slip it into the right needle, which I did just now. After that 2 number of purl. Now again I'm going to slip it off into the right needle, then 2 number of purl. So let's continue in the same manner. 2 number of purl, I slip the stitch into the right needle, then again 2 number of purl. Again I slip 1 stitch into the right needle, 2 number of purl, and again I slip the stitch into the right needle, then the edge stitch is going to be a purl. The second row comes to an end. I'm sorry guys if my voice is sounding very peculiar because I have a sore throat. Now this is the third row of the pattern. The edge stitch I knit from the back side, sorry. Now if you watch carefully, we have 4 stitches out there that we are going to knit together once from the back side, and then again we are going to work it from the right side. If it does not happen at one go, there is nothing to panic. We can again try it. As we will be working the 4 stitches together, that is why it becomes a little difficult. After that 2 number of knit. Now please watch carefully. The 4 stitches we are going to work together once from the back side, and then we are going to work the 4 stitches again from the right side, from the front side of the work. So that's done. After that 2 number of knit, 1 2. Now let's do that again. The 4 stitches I take together, I'm going to work from the back side, and then the 4 stitches I am going to work from the front side. It has to be worked together. This step has to be done carefully. After that 2 number of knit. Now again let us work the 4 stitches together, first from the back side, and now let us do it from the front side of the work, and then we work a knit. So that's done. Now I'm going to work 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. This is the third row of the pattern. The 4 stitches needs to be worked together, first from the back side of the work and then from the front side. Only this step has to be done carefully. Other than this, all the steps are very easy. But it doesn't matter, as I told you, if it doesn't happen at one go, we can just try it over again. After that 2 number of knit. Then let's work the 4 stitches together again. So here it is done. After that 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Now let's work the 4 stitches together again. This is the final one or the last one for this particular row. Worked from the back side, and now I'm working the 4 stitches from the front side of the work. So here it is done. After that the edge stitch is going to be a knit. So the third row of the pattern comes to an end. Let's move on to the 4th row of the pattern. The edge stitch I purl. After that I am working purl. So this particular fourth row is very simple. We just have to purl all across and just relax after working that third row. Now let's just purl all across. This is the fourth row of the pattern. So the fourth row has come to an end. Moving on to the fifth row of the pattern. The edge stitch we knit. After that I am going to work 2 number of knit. The position of the pattern is changing here, and then I am going to pass my needle through the second hole and pull up a loop. After that 2 number of knit. Now again the needle passes through the second hole, I pull up a loop and work 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Again the needle passes through the second hole and we pull up a loop, and then I work 2 number of knit. So that is the sequence for the fifth row of the pattern. Pulling up a loop, 2 number of knit, and again pulling up a loop from the second hole. So working my 2 number of knit, and again now 1 2, that's the second hole. Let's pull up a loop, then working 2 number of knit, and again I am going to pull up a loop. So this is the sequence that is to be followed for this particular row. Till we reach the second last stitch of this particular row. So let's pull up a loop. Once done, working 2 number of knit, let's pull up a loop again from the second hole and working 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Let's pull up a loop from the second hole and work 2 number of knit. Now again pulling up a loop from the second hole, working 2 number of knit, and finally the edge stitch is also going to be a knit. So the fifth row comes to an end. Let's move on to the sixth row of the pattern. The edge stitch I am going to purl. After that 2 number of purl, 1 and 2. The sequence has started already. That's the stitch formed by pulling up a loop. So I just slip it off into the right needle, then I work 2 number of purl, and then I slip the stitch again. Now again 2 number of purl, I slip the stitch off into the right needle, working 2 number of purl, I slip the stitch, and again 2 number of purl I work. After that I slip the stitch into the right needle, working 2 number of purl, and again I slip the stitch into the right needle. So this is the sequence that is to be followed for the sixth row of the pattern, and we are going to continue in the same fashion till we reach the second last stitch of this particular row. I just slipped off a pattern, working 2 number of purl. Again I slipped off a stitch and worked 2 number of purl, and the edge stitch is going to be a purl. So the sixth row comes to an end. Moving on to the seventh row of the pattern, the edge stitch is going to be a knit. After that 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Now comes the tough part again. It is not tough, but it is a little bit hard to work. Okay, come on. From the back side we are going to work the 4 stitches together, and then again from the front side we are going to work the 4 stitches together. Actually, once we work a few rows, this part is also going to get easy as the other rows. So nothing to panic. Freshers can also try this pattern. Once done, 2 number of knit. Now again let's work the 4 stitches together, first from the back side of the work. And now from the front side, we are going to work the 4 stitches together. After that, 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Again, let's work the 4 stitches together, once from the back side and then from the front. So working the 7th row of the pattern. It's a beautiful pattern. It is an 8 row pattern and the pattern looks just wonderful. Now let's work the 4 stitches together again from the back side and then from the front side. So this is the sequence that we are going to follow for this particular row. First working the 4 stitches from the back and then working it from the front, then working 2 number of knit. That is just the sequence that needs to be followed. Now I have 3 stitches left. The 2 stitches is going to be a knit. After that, the edge stitch is also going to be a knit. So the 7th row of the pattern is complete. Let's move on to the 8th row or the final row of this pattern. The edge stitch is a purl. After that, it is very easy. We just need to purl all across. See how nice it is. Just relax and purl. And the edge stitch is also going to be a purl. So this is how a pattern looks once the 8 rows are done. It's a beautiful pattern, although it is not showing so much in this particular video because I think of the poor lighting, but it's a wonderful pattern. Now let's start off once again. Starting off with the first row, I work the edge stitch, a knit. After that, this is the first row of the pattern. I'm showing it to you once again. I pull up a loop from the second hole and then I will be working 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Now again, let's pull up a loop from the second hole and then work 2 number of knit, 1, 2. Let us pull up a loop from the second hole and work 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Again pulling a loop from the second hole and working 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Again pulling up a loop from the second hole and then working 2 number of knits. This is the first row of the second set of pattern. I am showing you how the pattern is to be worked once again because I'll be showing all the 8 rows so that it becomes easy for the freshers to follow, so that if any point is not understood in the previous part of the video, that thing is cleared, doubt is cleared in this part of the video. That is why I am repeating the pattern again. So here I just work 2 number of knit. Now let's pull up a loop from the second hole and work 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. And again let's pull up a loop from the second hole and work 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. And finally I am going to pull up a loop from the second hole. Pulling up a loop in the edges has to be done carefully, and the edge stitch is also going to be a knit. So the first row of the pattern is done. Let's move on to the second row. The edge stitch is purled. After that, that's the loop that had been pulled, so I slip it off into the right needle. After that, 2 number of purl. Now again that stitch is shifted into the right needle. I work 2 number of purl. Again I shift the stitch into the right needle and then work 2 number of purl. So the sequence is, the loop that had been pulled is not to be purled, it is just shifted to the right needle. After that we work 2 number of purl and again shift the stitch into the right needle and work 2 number of purl. Basically that is the sequence that is to be followed for the second row of the pattern. Although the video is getting long, I am repeating the pattern again so that it is helpful for the beginners. Now here I shifted my stitch into the right needle, then work 2 number of purl. Here I again shift the stitch, and finally the edge stitch is a purl. So the second row is complete. Let's move on to the third row of the pattern. The edge stitch is going to be a knit, but from the back side, so that the loop doesn't get too long. That is the reason. Now if you watch carefully, we have 4 stitches here all lined up. Now we are going to work the 4 stitches together. First from the back side of the work, we are just working a simple knit, and then we are going to work the 4 stitches again from the front side of the work. So that's done. After that we work 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Now again let's work the 4 stitches which are all lined up. You can just easily identify the 4 stitches. It is worked first from the back side and then from the front side of the work. Once that is done, we are going to work 2 number of knit. So for this third row, we just have to work the 4 stitches together, once from the back side and then from the front side, and then work 2 number of knit. That is the sequence for the third row of the pattern. So let us keep working in this fashion. 2 number of knit, and then working the 4 stitches together, once from the back side of the pattern and then from the front side of the pattern. So this is the sequence that is to be followed for the third row of the pattern. 2 number of knit, and then working the 4 stitches together, once from the back side of the work and then from the front side. Now let's work the 2 stitches, 2 number of knit, and finally we are going to work the 4 stitches together, first from the back side and then from the front side of the work, and the edge stitch is going to be a knit. So the third row of the pattern comes to an end. See how beautiful the pattern is looking already. Let's move on to the fourth row of the pattern. The edge stitch is going to be a purl. After that, very simple, we are just going to purl all across. And the edge stitch is also going to be a purl. So the fourth row of the pattern comes to an end. See how nice the pattern is looking. Let's move on to the fifth row of the pattern. Here there will be a shifting of the pattern. First let's work the edge stitch, a knit, and then I am going to work 2 number of knit, 1, 2. After that I am going to pull up a loop from the second hole, then 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Now again I am going to pull up a loop from the second hole and then work 2 number of knit again. Now again let us pull up a loop from the second hole and work 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Let's pull up a loop again from the second hole and work 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Let's pull up a loop from the second hole and work 2 number of knit. So this is the sequence for this particular row of the pattern. This is the fifth row. We need to work in this sequence pulling up a loop from the second hole, working 2 number of knit, and then again pulling up a loop from the second hole. Simple as that. Then we work 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. This is the 5th row, and then the edge stitch is also going to be a knit. So the 5th row comes to an end. Moving on to the 6th row of the pattern, the edge stitch is purled. After that we work 2 number of purl, then we slip the stitch into the right needle and then work 2 number of purl. Again we slip 1 stitch into the right needle, we work 2 number of purl. Again we slip the stitch which has been formed after pulling up a loop in the previous row, and then we work 2 number of purl. So this is the sequence for the 6th row of the pattern. That's the stitch which has been formed by pulling up a loop. So we just slip it off into the right needle, working 2 number of purl. Again the stitch is slipped off into the right needle, working 2 number of purl. The edge stitch is going to be a purl. So the 6th row comes to an end. Moving on to the 7th row of the pattern. Working the edge stitch, it's a knit. After that 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Now all the 4 stitches are lined up. You can identify it easily. Now let's work the 4 stitches from the back all together, and then working the 4 stitches from the front side again. So that is the sequence. Now again 2 number of knit, 1 and 2, and working the 4 stitches together, once from the back side and then from the front side. Now working 2 stitches, 2 number of knit. After that we are going to work the 4 stitches together again from the back side and from the front side of the work. So this is the 7th row of the pattern. So let us continue in the similar fashion. 2 number of knit, working the 4 stitches together, first from the back side of the work and then from the front side of the work. See here, working the last 4 stitches from the back side and then working the 4 stitches again from the front side. Then we work 2 number of knit, 1 and 2, and edge stitch is also going to be a knit. So the 7th row comes to an end. Moving on to the 8th row of the pattern, or the final row, the edge stitch is a purl, and after that all the stitches we need to purl. So this is the 8th row, very easy. We just need to purl all across, and the edge stitch is also going to be a purl. So this is how our pattern is looking. It's a beautiful pattern, and I hope you guys are going to try this out in your future projects. Thank you friends for staying till the end. If you have liked the video, do give a thumbs up, share it with your friends and family members. If you are new, do consider subscribing and stay tuned for more of interesting videos. So till we meet again, it is bye-bye for today. Bye.